Begin today the Gemara on Daf Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph, the first line of the Amud. The Gemara continues from what we learned before. It said in the Mishnah that there are three kings that don't have a chelik leilam haba, and they are Yeravam ben Nevat, Achav, and Menashe, according to one opinion. According to one opinion, although Menashe did tshuva, nevertheless he does not have a chelik leilam haba. So Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Kol ha'eim Menashe ein chelik leilam haba. Whoever says that Menashe does not have a portion in leilam haba, Mar Peyidei and Shabali Tshuva. He weakens the hands of those that want to come and do tshuva. Because the Tanakh made Rabbi Yechanan, a Tana taught in front of Rabbi Yechanan, Menashe asa tshuva shloishim v'shalish shanim. Menashe did tshuva for 33 years. The Chsiv, the pasuk says that ben shtei meser shanim Menashe b'malchai. He was 12 when he became king, and v'chamishim shana malach b'Yerushalayim. For 55 years he was a king. Vayas Asherah kasha asa Achav melech Yisrael, and he planted an Asherah and a Avodah Zarah tree like the king of Achav, which was a melech Yisrael. Menashe was a melech from Beis David. Now, it's comparing him to Achav, and it's saying that he made an Asherah like Achav. Kama malach Achav. How long was Achav a king? Esrin v'tartan shnin, for 22 years. So Menashe kama malach. How long was Menashe a king for? Chamishim v'chamish, 55 years. So when it says that he made Avodah Zarah like Achav, that's only 22 years of his kingdom. So Dal Minay Esren V'Tartan, so deduct 22 years of his kingdom, 55 years. Pashalu Tlasim V'Tlas. So there's still 33 years that he was king after this, after he did tshuva. Mm-hmm. So therefore, he did tshuva for the majority actually of his kingdom. Wow. So this any Baal tshuva that sees this and would still say that he doesn't have a chelik l'olam haba would weaken a Baal tshuva. Rabbi Yechanan says, Mishum Rav Shimon ben Yochai, the name of Rav Shimon ben Yochai. My Dechsev, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says regarding Achav that Vayishmaelov? This was when Achav. Regarding Menashe, when Menashe was taken down to Bavel and he was put into a very painful situation and he cried to Hashem, and Vayishmaelov, Hashem heard him. Vayichater loy. So Vayichater literally means Hashem dug a tunnel for him. Now in the pasuk that we have in Nach, this is a pasuk in Divrei Hayamim, it actually says Vaye Aser Loy, and Hashem answered him. And Rashi here says that the Gemara is bringing the word Vaye Chaser because there's a Ksiv and a Kri. It's written with a Ches and it's read with a Ayin. Although if you look in our Nach, there's no Kri and there's no Ksiv, but that's apparently the tradition that Rabbi Yechanan had. So the Gemara says Vaye Aser Loy mibayele. You should have said that Hashem answered him. What does it mean that Hashem dug a tunnel for him? Malamed, it comes to teach the power of tshuva. Because Sha'asala HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kimin Machteres Berikia. The Eibishter made like a tunnel for him in the heavens. Kedei lekable b'tshuva, in order to receive and to accept this tshuva. Mipnei midas adin, because otherwise the midas adin would have held back Menashe from coming and doing tshuva. So the Eibishter had to dig a tunnel for him and accept his tshuva. So this is an example that shows how powerful tshuva is. It surpasses all levels that there could be that could stop a person from tshuva, but when one really does tshuva, Hashem extends his hand and accepts the tshuva. Gemara is going to bring different statements, all Rabbi Yechanan in the name of Rav Shimon ben Yochai. What's the reason why it says in the pasuk Bereishis Mamlechas Yehoyakim ben Yeshayahu? This refers to the first year of the king Yehoyakim, but it uses the term Bereishis. Uksiv, also by one more king, it says a similar expression, Bereishis Mamlechas Tzidkiah, in the first year of the kingdom of Tzidkiah. So in other places, when it speaks about the first year of a kingdom, Rashi says the usual lashon would be Bishana Rishayna, first year. Why does he use only by these two this term of Bereishis, which is similar to the lashon of Bereishis Bara Elokim es Hashemayim v'Haaretz? So the question is, till now there were no other kings that ruled, and there it doesn't use this term of Bereishis. Hello, the reason is because Bikash HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahachzer es ha'olam kuloi l'toyu v'avoyu. It's during their kingdom that the Eibishter wanted to return the world to nothingness. Now, one is Bishvil Yehoyakim, because Yehoyakim himself was a big Rasha, and therefore the Eibishter wanted to destroy the world. But then Nistakel b'Doire, Hashem looked at the people that were there in Eretz Yisrael in his generation, and he saw tzaddikim that were there. Yehoyakim was earlier on, in the time before the Chodesh and the Masger, which were big Talmidei Chachamim that went down to Bavel. So they were still in Eretz Yisrael, and Hashem saw them, and he calmed down. Hashem calmed down. Now, Bikish HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ahachzer es ha'olam kuloi l'toyev avoyu b'shvil doirei shel tzidkiyah, Similar, but actually in the opposite, that when it came to the generation of Tzidkiah, he himself was a tzaddik, but because of his generation, they were all Rishayim. Hashem wanted to destroy the world, and this is already after the tzaddikim went into Galus. They went into Galus with Yehoiachin earlier on, and at that time, all the Yidden Eretz Yisrael, they were all Rishayim. But Nistakel b'Tzidkiah, Hashem looked at Tzidkiah himself, v'niskar adaita, and Hashem calmed down, because Tzidkiah was a tzaddik. But the Gemara asks on this, but Tzidkiah Nami Ksiv, by Tzidkiah it also says, Vayas hara b'einei Hashem, that he did what's bad in the eyes of Hashem. And says the Gemara, not that he was a Rasha, rather, Shahaya b'yodei limchais v'lei micha. It says it about Tzidkiah because he could have protested against the Rishayim in his time, and he didn't. Okay, so that's the Gemara's pshat, why it says Bereshis. The two places it says Bereshis, referring to the fact that Hashem wanted to bring back the world to Bereshis, before creation. What's the meaning of the pasuk where it says Ish Chacham, the wise man, refers to the Eibishter, like it says in the Eibishter, Hashem Ish Mulchama. So Nishpat is Ish Evel, he judges the foolish man. Veragaz, he shows him anger. V'sochak, he shows him laughter. Ve'ein Nachas, but he does not rest. So what is this pasuk saying? Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter says, and here the Gemara will show that the Eibishter tries one way, another way to bring these kings that were Rishayim to do tshuva, and nothing worked. So the Eibishter says, Ka'asti al Achaz, I was angry with the king Achaz, v'nasatu b'yad malchei Damasek, and I had him, he fell into the hands of the kings of Damasek. And what happened? So Hashem thought that I'll show him anger, which is what it means here in the Lashon of the pasuk when it says V'rogas. Hashem shows anger and he falls into the hands of Damasek, that maybe he'll do tshuva. But what happened? Zibech v'kiter leleheyam. He went and slaughtered and for Avodah Zarah. Shenem, as it says, v'yizbach lelekei Damasek hamakim boy v'yomer ki lekei malchei Aram heim ma'azrim ma'isam lehem ezbach v'yezruni v'heim hoylei lachshil l'chol Yisrael. So he went and he brought the thing, Avodah Zarah. He served Avodah Zarah. He said that, look, their king is helping them, and he caused all the Yidden to stumble. So that's what it means in the pasuk when it says Rogas. Then Hashem says, Sachakti im Amatzia. Amatzia, which was also a Rosh, and Hashem wanted to bring him to do tshuva. I showed him, I laughed. In other words, I showed him positive through the king Amatzia. V'nasati malki Edom biyodei. And I gave over the kings of Edom that he was able to conquer them. Instead, what did he do? He brought their idols, and he bowed to them. Shenem, as it says, he came, he returned from when he was hit and defeated the Adayimim, so although here Hashem tried with good to try to bring him to do tshuva, but he responded also in the negative, and that's what the pasuk before it says, Ve'ein nachas, there's no rest. They did not bring them to tshuva. Rav Papa, about this pasuk, Rav Papa said, Hained Amri Inshi, this is what people say, Bachi lamar, you can cry to a master, and lo yoda, or lo yoda, he doesn't understand, he doesn't pay attention, it doesn't move him. Chaychi lamar, you laugh to him, and also lo yoda, it doesn't touch him, it doesn't move him. Vaile lamar, woe to a master, do lo yoda ben tavla bish, he doesn't understand good or bad, it doesn't change, it doesn't do anything. Right, so Rashi says mar is lavdafka, but it means here over here the Eibishter showed anger, he showed good, but nothing helped to bring them to do tshuva. Another pasuk, this is also from a drasha that Rabbi Yochanan darshan in the name of Rav Shimon Beichai, Vayavoyu Kalsari Bavel, or Kalsari Melech Bavel. The ministers from the king of Bavel came to Eretz Yisrael, and Vayeshvu Bishar HaTovech. This was by the time of the first Beis HaMikdash, and they came and they sat by the gates of Tovech. What gates are these? This refers to Makaim Shemechatchem by halachas, in the place, in the gates, where the Bezdin would sit and cut and decide the halachas. So as Rashi brings there, we learned before that the Sanhedrin, there was the Sanhedrin in the Lishkas Agazis, then there was one by the entrance to the Azara, and the entrance from the Harabais going into the Ezras Nashim, so they came, sat by those gates instead of the Bezdin sitting there. Rav Papa said about this, this is what people say, Ba'asra, in the same place, the Mare, Talalezene, that the master used to hang his weapons there, Tamon, now, Kul Beraye, Kul Sitala. Now a dirty shepherd comes and hangs his jug over there in that same place. And that's what happened over here, that instead of the Bezdin being there, the Sarei Moav, the ministers or rather of Bavel, came and sat in that same place. Now, Simon for the Gemara after Als de Batim Lois Una. This is for a few drashas here that Rav Chisda will say. Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Mai d'chsiv. What's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Al ish sadeh, al zdei ish, that is, on the man of the field, otzel, which is lazy, avarti, I passed through him, val kerem adam chasar leiv, and on the vineyard of a person that has no heart, v'hine ala kulikim shainim, it's all full of thorns, kisu panav charulim, his face is covered with charulim, which is, what is charulim over? How do they translate charulim over there? Needles. And v'geder avon of nersa, and the fence from stone was destroyed. So what is this pasuk referring to? The Eibusher says he came and he saw all of this. Asteish Atzel, the man that's very lazy, avarti, I passed through him, Ze Achaz. This is the king Achaz, which was from Malchei Beis David, that he was lazy, as the Gemara is going to bring soon, that he just stopped everybody from serving Hashem, from learning Torah. Laziness. Val kerem adam chasar leiv, Ze Menashe. This refers to the king Menashe, that was a chasar leiv, as the Gemara will bring, that he would take out the name of Hashem from the Sefer Torah. Chasar leiv, no heart. V'hine yala kulikim shainim, it's all full of thorns. Ze Amain. Amain, which was the son of Menashe, this refers to Amain. What does Rashi here bring regarding Amain? It says, that in his times, the Mizbeach, they didn't bring any karbanis, so much so that there were spider webs all over the Mizbeach. That's like thorns all over. Kisu panav charulim, his face is covered with needles. Ze Yahayakim. This refers to Hayakim. The Gemara is going to bring it on with Beis that Yahayakim said that he doesn't need the light of the sun. He has a source of light for himself. And the Gader Avana of Nersa, the brick or the stone wall is demolished. Ze Tzidkiyahu. This refers to Tzidkiyahu. He actually was a tzaddik, but Shenechrev Beis Hamikdash b'Yamav. The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed in his days. There are 4 groups of people that that cannot receive the Pnei Shechina. Kat Leitzim, the group of people that are Leitzim, they cause a mockery. Kat Shakronim, those that lie. Kat Chanefim, the ones that are flatterers. And Kat Mesapre Lashon Hara, and the ones that say Lashon Hara. Kat Leitzim d'chsev Moshach Yodei es Leitzitzim. Hashem pulls away his hand from those that are Litzanim. Kat Shakronim d'chsev Doivishkarim le'yikain le'neged einov. Those that say falsehood, Hashem doesn't want in front of his eyes. Le'neged le'yikain le'neged einai. Kat Chanefim, the kat of those that are Chanefim, la flatterers, d'chsev Kiloi lefonov Chanav Yovei. In front of Hashem, one that's Chanav does not come. Kat Mesapri Lashon Hara, d'chsev, the pasuk says Kiloi Keil Chafetz Resha Ata Lo Yugurcha Ra, and Rashi brings in the continuation of that pasuk. It speaks about Lashon Hara Ta'abed Dovri Chazav V'Shdamim, or it says also afterwards Avos Keva Pasuach Greinam, one that speaks Lashon Hara. Tzadikatov L'Yir B'Mugurcha Ra. You're a tzaddik. Hashem does not want to live and be with this evil of Lashon Hara. A third thing, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says until nothing bad will happen to you. V'nega lo yikrav ba'alecha, and the nega will not come to your tent. What this means is that the Yetzer Hara will not rule over you. V'nega lo yikrav ba'alecha, and that there won't be a nega in your tent. What is the tent referred to? That a person will not come home from a trip and find his wife to be a safek nida, which makes it painful. And actually Rashi says even more painful than a vadei nida. Then the person just knows that she's asr now, but when it's a safek nida, then the Yetzer Hara is very strong. So a person will not find such a thing. Another pshat, means that you won't be scared by bad dreams or bad thoughts. And you will not have a son or a student which burns his what he's cooking in public, which means a student that's not a proper student. And in the Gemara, that without what the censor took out, it says Kagoin Yesha Hanoitri. Okay, so now the drasha here is, this is in Tilim, in this capital, the capital of Yeshu B'Sei Sarelya, and the Gemara says, this is a bracha that David HaMelech said for his son. At Kanan, the psukim until here, Birchei Aviv. This is what his father, David HaMelech, benched him. So Rashi says, these are the kinds of subjects that a father would speak and bench his son about, regarding not following the Yetzer Hara and to have Shalom Bayis, and his son should have good children. Now, Mikan ve'elech, the psukim that come after this, Berchasi Imai, his mother benched him. And as the Gemara will say, These other psukim, Rashi says it's more characteristic for a mother that's softer and is more emotional to be worried about the following things. That Hashem should have a malach that should be with you, to guard you in all your ways, he should lift you up on his hands, you'll go on top of a lion or a snake. So that's the bracha of his mother for his safety and so on. So at kan brachasi imay, till here is the bracha of Shlomo Melech's mother. And then become the Eilech, the psukim that are after this, brachasa yishamayim. Here's the Eibishter's bracha. When the pasuk in the end of this capital says, Kivi chosha, because you wanted me, va'afalteyu, I will save you, asakveyu, I will strengthen you, ki yodashmi, you know my name, you kre'eni, you call out to me, v'nei, I answer you, imo yonechi b'tzara, I'm with you in the time of tzara, v'chatzeyu, I will save you, v'chabdeyu, will honor you, oidech yamas be'be'rebishos, Hashem will give you long life. So the end of the capital is the Eibishter's bracha. So we see here the Mefarshim say, maybe it's the Marsha, that you see here the three brachas of the three shutvim in the creation of a person, a father, the mother, together with the Eibishter. Rav Shimon ben Lakish darshan ma'idich sev. What's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Vayimna mirishayim oyram, he prevented light from the Rishayim, uzroya rama tishaver, and the outstretched arm Hashem breaks. So now, ayin shel rishayim tluya. The ayin that's written in the word rishayim here is not written on the same line with the rest of the word. The ayin is written higher up. That's how it's written. What's the reason for this? So in other words, you read it roshim without the ayin. The reason is because kivin shenasa adam rosh milmata. When a person becomes poor here below. Now Rashi says what this means is when a person here in this world becomes lonely because everybody hates him and he doesn't get along with people. So then nasa rosh milmaila. He becomes also hated and poor above by Hashem. Because if a person gets into fights with everyone here in this world, so then Hashem, Lamaila also has the same thing, he becomes poor above. Okay, but the Gemara says if that's what the pasuk is referring to, if so, it shouldn't say that letter ayin at all. It should just say vayimna miroshim ayram. Answers the Gemara, Rabbi Yechim and Rabbi Lazar. Chadam, one of them said, the reason it says Rishayim is because there's an exception to this. There are people that are tzaddikim and are hated in this world, but it doesn't mean that it's the same Lamaila, like David HaMelech, that had many enemies, but nevertheless he was a tzaddik. Another opinion is Nechemia ben Chachalya also had many enemies actually from Goyim that wanted to kill him because he built a Beis HaMikdash. Or Rashi says there were Kanoim from amongst Yidden that were fighting with him. So therefore the pasuk writes Rishayim, so we should understand that this concept that a person that doesn't get along with people means that he's hated above as well, that it's only by a Rasha. Going back to Menashe, Tanur Rabbana, we learned in Abraisa Menashe, Menashe taught 55 different ways of understanding the psukim of Teres Kainim. And this is actually corresponding to the years of his kingdom. And every year he would say another pshat in Teres Kainim. The Gemara says, Keneged Shnei Malchusei, corresponding to the years of his kingdom. Achav, which was also a Rashi, Shmeinim v'chamisha. He had 85 different ways of learning Teres Kainim. And Yeravam, Mea Shloisha. Yeravam had 103 different ways of how to learn the psukim in the drashas and Teres Kainim. So these were great Talmidei Chachamim, and nevertheless they sinned, they made a Zara, and so on. Tanya Rab Meir said, Avshalom. In addition to what was mentioned in the Mishnah of these three kings and other people that don't have a chelik l'olam haba, Rab Meir taught, Avshalom ein chelik l'olam haba. Avshalom, the son of David HaMelech that mounted a rebellion against him, does not have a chelik l'olam haba. Shana, the pasuk says, Vayaku es Avshalom, they hit Avshalom, vayimisuhu, and they killed him. Vayaku means by Elam Hazeh, he died here in this world, and Vayamisuhu means lo'elam haba, that he doesn't have a life in Elam haba. Tanya Nebraisa we learned Rab Shimon Bar Elazar Mishum Rab Meir, Achaz va'Achazia. Achaz and Achazia, that are two kings that are from Malchei Yehuda, and V'chol Malchei Yisrael, and all the other Malchei Yisrael, Shekasav Ben, that the pasuk says with them, Vayas Hara Be'einei Hashem. It says this expression that they did what's bad in the eyes of Hashem. Loi Chayin. So these are people that are not going to get up for Olam Haba, but at the same time, V'loi Nidainim. They're not going to be judged. They're not going to be in Gehenna. So they are going to not get up for Olam Haba, but still they're going to be like floating around. They're not going to be in Gehenna either. That's these. So the Rashi here says the reason why it says specifically Achaz and Achazia from Malchei Beis Yehuda, and then afterwards it says all the other Malchei Yisrael, is because there are others from the Malchei Beis David where like Shloimeh, Tzidkiah, over there it also says Vayas Hara B'einei Hashem, but they will get up for Tchiyas HaMesim. Rashi says Sidki is also an exception. Omen, sorry, there's another exception. Also Rashi brings Omen and Yehoyakim. They also will get up for Olam Haba. Okay, now there's another pasuk where it says regarding Menashe. Going back to Menashe, it says V'gam dam noki shopach Menashe harbe mo'id, that Menashe spilled a lot of blood. Ad ashemolis Yishalayim pelepeh, that the Yishalayim was filled from one side to the other with the blood. Levad mechatos ashehechti es Yehuda las tzara b'nei Hashem. Besides the other averes that he caused Yidden to do. So what does this mean? What does this mean that he spilled all this blood? So Hacha over here in Bavel Targimu, they explain this. Shaharag Yeshaya. This is because he killed Yeshaya, which was actually his grandfather. And b'Marava Amri, in Marava, in Netz Yisrael, they said, Sha'asat Selem, he made a massive Avodah Zarah, which was Masoi Elef B'nei Yadam, and he had 1,000 people carry this. And every day he would make this Avodah Zarah and have them carry it, and Hoyre Kulam. It was so heavy that they collapsed below it and they would die. And that's why so much blood was spilled through him. So now the Gemara says, based on these two opinions here, according to who does it go, this following statement here that Rabbi Bar Chana said, Shkula neshama shel tzaddik echad, that the neshama of one tzaddik is similar to or equivalent to keneged kol olam kulei, the whole world. So Kamandami Yeshaya, it's like the opinion that says that he killed Yeshaya, that his blood spilled is like you killed a whole world of people that fills the whole city of Yerushalayim with blood. Okay, now the Gemara speaks about here the Menashe that put Avodah Zarah in the Beis HaMikdash. Ksiv, in one pasuk it says Pesel, that he put an Avodah Zarah in the Beis HaMikdash. It says a singular term. Ksiv, in another pasuk it says Psilim, plural term. In the beginning he made for the Avodah Zarah one face. In the end he made four, so that it will be seen by the Shechina and to anger Hashem. Now Achaz, now here the Gemara brings the how this happened with regarding different kings that were Rishayim at that time from the Malchut Beis David actually. Achaz Hamida Ba'aliyah. He brought Avodah Zarah in the second floor in the Beis HaMikdash. Shenem, as the pasuk says, V'samizbechos Ashahela Agag Alias Achaz. Achaz brought in the roof Avodah Zarah. Menashe Hamida Behechel. Menashe brought Avodah Zarah into the Hechel, as we mentioned the pasuk Shenem Vayasam Esapesel. Ha'asheira Asher Asa Beveis Asher Oma Hashem Al David V'Shloime B'Noi B'Bayis Hazeh B'Yerushalayim Asher B'Charti Mikol Shifti Yisrael Asam Shmi La'Olam. And there, in the Beis HaMikdash, which Hashem chose, Menashe put the pesel. Amain, the son of Menashe, which was Amain, Hechnisai Lebeis Kodesh HaKadoshim. He brought Avodah Zarah in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Shenem, the pasuk says, Ki kotzer hamatzah mistareya, that the bed or the couch is too narrow to spread out on it, to have two be on it together. V'amasechet tzara, and the cover is too small, ki hiskanes, to cover them both. So what does this mean? Ma'iki kotzer hamatzah mistareya, that it's too narrow in the bed to spread out for both. Amar Rab Shmuel ben Achmeni, Amar Rab Yonasan, Ki kotzer hamatzah zeh melistar olav shnei reim keechad, that this bed is too narrow for two to be in it together. So this is referring to the fact that in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, where the Shechina is, he brought Avodah Zarah there to be together in one place. Now, what does it mean when it says that the cover is too narrow? When Rab Yonasan came to this pasuk Avakabachi, he cried, because Misha Kasabai, regarding the Eivishter, whom it says on him that Kainis Kaneid Mei Yam, that he gathers the water by Kriyas Yamsuf. And what this means is, the Marsha says, so the Eivishter is able to expand the world. He's able to expand dry land into the Yamsuf. But over here, Tasale Masechet Tzara. Over here, the fact that there's the Avodah Zarah and the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the covering, it becomes narrow for Hashem to be there. So that's what he cried about in this pasuk. Now, Achaz bitles Aveda. Achaz was the one that was mevatel David in the Beis HaMikdash, the Chasam Esatayr, and he closed off learning Torah. Shenem, as the pasuk says, Sur Tu'uda Chasam, that the Tu'uda refers to the Luchais, which is Luchas Ha'edos, so he closed it off. Torah Belimudi, and also Torah, the learning of Torah, he stopped this. And this is what the Gemara mentioned in Roman Aleph, that by Achaz, is the lashon of the pasuk is that it was a laziness, not to learn, not to, so on. Menashe Kadares HaAskaris. Menashe pierced out the names of the Eibishter, V'hares HaSamizbeach, and he broke and he demolished the Mizbeach. And this is what it says here in Roman Aleph, Chasar Lev. Amain Saraf Esatayra. Amain, his son, burnt the Torah v'hela smamis al Mizbeach, al Gab Mizbeach. And in his times, they didn't bring karbanis, and the Mizbeach was full of spider webs. Achaz hitir es ha'erve. Achaz was matter. In other words, he acted in this way, and people began being matter the arayis. Menashe Baal Achaisei. Menashe had relations with his own sister. Omoin Baal Imoy. And Menashe and Omen, his son, was even worse. He had relations with his mother. Shanab, as the pasuk says, Ki hu har Omen hirba ashma. Omen did a lot of avedis. And Rabbi Yechim and Rabbi Lazar said about this pasuk when it says hirba ashma, Chadama, one opinion is Shesarif es that he burnt the Taita. The Chadama Shaba al Imay, that he had a relation with his own mother. Now, Amr Allah, his mother said to him, Klom yesh l'cha ana mimakom sheyatzis mimeno. Do you have any pleasure in doing this aveda from the place that where you were born from? Amalei, so Amin answered, Klom ani oisa ela lahachas es bairi. I'm only doing this to bring anger to my Creator. Ki asa Yehoyakim, when Yehoyakim came, Amar, he said, Kamoi la yadi la arguzi klom. The ones before me did not know how to bring anger to Hashem. Anu tzrichin ela la'oirei. All we need is Hashem's light from the sun. But yesh lanu zav parvayim. We have this gold, this dark and very shiny gold. Shana mishtamshim by that we use this. So yitalaita, he can take his light. We have our own source of light. Amrulai, the people in his generation at the times of Yehoyakim said to him that, as the Gemara brought before Namar Aleph, that the people in his times, in his generation, were tzaddikim. V'halei kesef v'zav shalayu. You say you have gold, but the silver and the gold is all his. Shenav aliyah kesef liyah zav num Hashem tzvais. Amalehem, so Yehoyakim answered, Kvar nasnei lanu. Hashem already gave it away to us. Shenema shemayim l'Hashem, but v'ha'aretz nasan levnei adam. He gave everything here in the world below to us. Why was Yehoyakim, which was a king, a Rasha, not counted amongst those that don't have a chelik leilam haba? Now he said in a rhetorical way, Mishum b'chsiv v'yeser divrei Yehoyakim v'toyavesa v'asha'asa. That Yehoyakim, with all of his abominable acts, were even more than what was done before, v'hanimtza olav, and what was on his own body. So he did even worse things. So why isn't he mentioned in the ones that did not have a chelik leilam haba? Now the Gemara darshans mai va'nimtza olav. What does it mean when it says what was found upon himself? So Rabbi Yechim and Rabbi Lazar argued about this. Chadama, one says shachakak shem avodas kechavim alamasei. What Rashi actually is going to say al gufay. One says that he engraved the name of Avodah Zareh either on his body or on the aver of his bris. V'chadama shachakak shem shamayim alamasei. Or another says it was the name of Hashem, that he was chayik in that to disgrace the name of Hashem. Amalei, so the question is, why isn't he mentioned by those that don't have a chelik leilam haba? So he answered, regarding kings, I didn't hear a reason, but behedyatis shamaiti, regarding another individual, which was a plain individual, I heard why he's not mentioned. And that is mipnei ma lemanu es micha. Why Micha, which made an avodah zarah also in his times? He was by Shevet Ephraim and he had an avodah zarah, the pesel Micha. Why is he not counted amongst those that don't have a chelik leilam haba? The answer is because he had his bread that was available always for the people that passes by. Shanamar, it says, and this is not an actual pasuk, but this is understood from what it says in the pasuk, that kol ha'over v'shav el Leviim, all those that were coming and passing through there to go to the Leviim, they passed through his place and he would feed them. Now the pasuk says, and this is a drasha regarding the Micha that came out of Mitzrayim, v'avar bayam tzara, that going through the Yam Suf is tzara, and v'hika bayam galim, and the Eibishter hits the Yam with waves when the Eibishter splits the Yam Suf. So what does this pasuk mean? This refers to Micha that came out of Mitzrayim and he made a pesel. So Rashi says it refers to the fact that Micha, when he came out of Mitzrayim, he took that Shem that Moshe Rabbeinu used to bring up the Aron of Yosef to take him out of Mitzrayim, and he took out then that Shem of the Eibishter, and then he made Avodah Zarah, he made the Egel with that afterwards. Or another pshat, Rashi says that this is the pesel that he came and had with him when he went out of Mitzrayim. Tanya, in a brayso we learned about Micha. Rab Nassan says, Migrav l'Shiloi, from the place where Micha lived, which was in Grav. That was not far from the Mishkan, when it was in Shiloi. Gimel Milan, it was only a distance of 3 mil. V'haya Ashan Amaracha, the smoke that comes out from the Maracha on the Mizbeach, and the Ashan Pesel Micha, and the smoke that came from the Avodah Zarah of Micha, Misarvin Zebezeh, they would mix, the smoke would mix together. Bikshu Malach Yesharis L'Deichavoy, the Malach Yesharis wanted to come and push away and kill Micha. Amalena Kadosh Baruch Hu, but the Eibishter said to the Malachim that, Leave him, that his bread is available for the people that passers by, and therefore we can't take his life. Now, but regarding this that happened there, that Micha made Avodah Zarah, not far from where Mishkan Shili was. But regarding this, Nanshu Anshe Pelegesh Begiva, the people by the story of Pelegesh Begiva were punished about this, because after the story of the Pelegesh by the Giva by Binyamin, where they defiled her and she died, and there was a whole Mulchame, and then what ended up happening is many Yidden died. And they were punished about this, because why? Amalena Kodesh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter says, for my honor you did not protest. When Micha is making Avodah Zarah not far from Shiloh, you did not protest. When they covered for flesh and blood, for this Pelegesh Begiva, that you protested, and therefore the Yidden suffered after the story because they didn't stick up for the Eibishter's covet. Okay.